Portions of this show are recorded. Strap in and be prepared.
You just heard Baby J about 3 minutes give his entire A to Z on what was going on. I didn't interrupt you.
I don't even like I got to everything, honestly.
No, you didn't get to everything.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, Melissa Lombardi, Yogi Roth, who said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
I can see Dan Lanning sitting in his office, rubbing his hands together and saying, yeah, bring it on. You're just giving me juice.
I think you could be the type of team that has guys that excel in certain things. You don't need somebody that's great at everything. You need to be able to put guys in position where they're going to succeed.
And some smiles.
Is this thing on?
Is this thing working? No, that's why you got to do this. You got to go.
Hello?
Hello? Testing, testing,
it's like the little
testing.
girl in Nemo where she's tapping on the glass.
Fishy! Fishy, wake up, Fishy!
It's Danny Havel.
We have to be more specific. We have a lot of pickle things going
didn't
on,
know.
apparently.
Justin Grossweiner.
It's a Schwar bomb. That's a man right there hitting that ball.
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport.
Hello, neighbors! Hi, atop the Delta Triad, the Crystal Palace of the Bigfoot Beverages Studios in Eugene and Newport. Fox Sports Radio. This is the fastest 60 minutes in sports. We do more with 1 hour than most do with 3. It's the Danny and Justin radio program. Follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Danny and Justin. Also, if you miss any portion of the program today, well, first, shame. That's what we always say. Shame, shame. But then we have redemption for you in the form of a podcast. You go wherever you pod, you look up Danny and Justin or the fastest 60 minutes, you can listen back to the program. And boy, today, if we don't give you enough reasons, we got 2 more big ones. 2 more huge ones. We've got a first-time guest, Jordan Moore, who's the sideline reporter, the men's basketball voice for the men of Troy, USC, but he's going to talk football as the big matchup game day's here. And some of them are already here in Eugene. We'll talk football and a lot more football with our good friend Landon Tengwall, who gets his nickname today here on the radio program. But first, enough of that. I am Danny Havel, back in the chair from the Big Apple. I was there this morning. Here I am. And right over there is my tag team partner, Justin Grossweiner. He's number 17 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts. What a boy!
I'm just curious where you got number 17 from. I don't hate it. Chris Bryant's number. I'm not upset about it.
So you're number 10.
Yeah, number 10.
See, I'm sorry.
I'm number 10 or 7. I think you just added them
Maybe
together.
I added them together.
Which is fine.
Well,
but it's great to have you back. We didn't have you. You were here on Monday. I was in Portland. So this is the first time since,
We've seen each
last
other
Friday?
Since last Friday.
Yeah, we were here last Friday. So
yeah, I was here last Friday.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember.
I'm going to touch myself to make sure I was here last Friday.
So lots that happened missing between now and last Friday.
I just want to say I listened on the plane to you and Knight.
Okay.
Knight Jurecki was here. Is that right?
Uretsky.
Uretsky.
Yes.
Sorry, Knight.
It's not how it looks on the sheet of paper, which is kind of how my last name as well. So,
okay.
And your last name to some people.
Havel. One. Great content from both of you guys. I mean, yeah, but you know each other. So, I mean, it was like a reunion tour.
Yeah.
It's like Peaches and Herb. You're not going to get that reference.
I've heard of it. I do not exactly understand.
Reunited. And it feels so good. That was their biggest hit.
No, I know that song.
Okay,
of course.
that was Peaches and Herb.
Oh, okay,
I think.
there you go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. But then you did a very nice job on the open and the close.
I tried. Yeah,
no,
it was funny. I looked over at Night,
saying,
and he was as I was doing it, he gave me a little head tilt as like a okay,
like you're used to it now. Just like
yeah, like
there
this
goes
is happening.
Danny.
Yeah.
Danny's just gonna do this. I can't stop him. But no,
I did. I really put some effort in there.
And there was no try. There was just do, and you did. So no, I was
Yoda
because. And I was a bit taken aback.
Oh, really?
Because you don't do it every time when I'm gone.
You know,
you don't, because you and I talked about
what we
this.
have to do. I didn't get a dad joke in. We ran out of time. I want to talk about the Blazers even more than I did. So tough night last night for the Blazers. Speaking of which,
last second 3-point.
Yeah,
the worst shot to lose on is you're up by 2 and it's under 5 seconds and you lose by 1 because of the 3-point shot.
I know,
and it's got to be bittersweet for you because you were a Bulls fan forever. So
yeah, a
the
little
Bulls,
bittersweet for sure. I mean, it was some I wouldn't say bad defense, but like I think Avdia and Kamara got a little caught sleeping on. I think they thought Kobe White was going to take a shot there, and they kind of got a little flat-footed, and they had a little more time than I think the Blazers realized. And it was a great shot by Vucevic, who has been very good from three-point range this season, struggled a lot last year. So it was a disappointing game for the Blazers, who obviously dealt with a lot of injuries, but it was one where they came back and they were down 21 points.
Oh, it was a great comeback.
I think it was even in the fourth quarter they were down that much. But yeah, it was a great comeback, and this is a game that would have been great to win for them. But unfortunately, that Vucevic shot just kind of ruins it.
That's just another thing that piles on. As you climb all the way back that mountain, you get the lead, and it's like, man, we are going to make this the most epic comeback.
I know, you get so close, and then you have one big shot. It's just like that's sports are a game of inches.
And the Blazers are a little dinged up. They're trying to get back into a good rotation. They started out blasting out of the gates, and then a 1-4 road trip, and they've dropped now a couple of games at home. They've got chance at redemption on the road, short road trip for the Blazers to start tomorrow at 7 p.m. I think they come back home, or maybe they don't. They just stay on the road because then they're going to Oklahoma City on Sunday, and you can hear both those games right here on Fox Sports Eugene. So the Blazers drop at 122-121 last night to the Bulls. Oregon,
now a 4-game losing streak, and you're losing 6 out of 7.
That's
after a pretty good start.
Yeah,
actually, it's been ironically ever since the Oklahoma City win, which is their only loss for Oklahoma City.
Still, Oklahoma City's not lost.
I think that's still
except
true.
that game.
Yes, they are
15
and 1.
Yeah,
and they really, quite honestly, should have won that game against the Blazers too.
Yeah, but
by the way, they have picks projected 9 and 10 in the NBA draft right now, so this won't end anytime soon.
You talked to me about that the other day, just like, come on, man.
And you're like, where did this even come from? I was like, yeah, trades from 3 years ago.
Is Sam Presti still there as the GM? That guy's like the Theo Epstein of basketball.
No, absolutely.
Just matching things together.
He's like Howie Roseman.
He's a savant.
He's actually probably better than Howie Roseman, to be honest with you.
That's a very good comparison, by the way. Oregon women are still undefeated in basketball. They're 5-0 now. They went on the road. First road game. Can you believe it's the first road game of the season? And they swamp Washington State. A wire-to-wire win. They win every single quarter, and they win going away 86-59. Led in scoring, if I get this right here. Total points. Katie Fiso, 22 points. Mia Jacobs with 20. And Avery Kane, nice performance, 4 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from range, and she scores 10 points. So 3 players in double figures. So
yeah, Katie Fiso. I mean,
and almost another double with the assists. She had 8 assists as well.
Yeah, she's really coming in her own. I mean, she flashed last year, and she had some things going on personally last year, which I think
lost her grandfather.
Anyway. I believe it was multiple family members that she lost, and man, just a tough year for her. To see her come in and. She just looks way more comfortable. I mean, she just looks way more comfortable.
She's just a sophomore.
I know.
We talked to Kelly Graves about that on Monday here on the radio program. If you missed that, go back to the podcast and listen to it. It was a great interview on Monday, right before that game last night.
The most impressive number for her, to me, she had 8 assists, but she only had 2 turnovers. I mean, it's the ratio that's important. Some players are going to be able to rack up assists, but they're also going to turn the ball over a lot. So 32 minutes, 2 turnovers, that's very impressive for a lead guard.
So do you know what her plus-minus thing was? It was 28.
That's pretty good.
It's almost perfect.
Yeah.
Almost perfect. All right, we got a lot to get to. Jordan Moore coming up, Landon Tengwall, and then we're going to have our Big Ten Power Rankings as well in the last part of the program. But let's head back over to the Oregon Man Clinic's hotline right away at 541-343. Say it together, kids. 5673. And welcome in Jordan Moore. You can follow him at Moore Sports. He's the Chief Creative Officer. He's also the play-by-play men's basketball voice for USC, but he's also going to be on the sidelines as he's also the host for the Men of Troy football program. So, Jordan, thanks for coming on, first-time guest on the program. So, it's been a long time since USC Oregon have tangled where it means a lot for both teams. It means something.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really a de facto playoff game for both teams. So, from that standpoint, the stakes are extremely high. But as you said, I just think it's cool that there was a lot of talk about, with the old Pac schools be able to compete, in a quote unquote real conference when they enter the Big Ten. And I think they've done more than compete. And you start looking across the sports, and the 4 schools that entered have been pretty dominant across the board. And And obviously, Oregon's been the most successful in football in the 2 years. But Trojans having a nice bounce-back season this year, and a chance to be right there at the top of the league.
And let's talk about Lincoln Riley first, and then we'll start getting into more about the nuts and bolts of this game that's coming up. Lincoln Riley has, been under fire, and this year's team coming in at 8-2 overall and a matching 6-1 record with Oregon in the Big Ten. Is this one of Lincoln Riley's better teams, and is he able to coach it the way he wants?
It's fascinating. When you look at it, it may not have as sort of sexy talent at the top of the roster that makes you think like, oh, this is clearly his best team. Look at all these, crazy 5 stars and NFL players. What it is a much more balanced team than what he's had so far at USC. It's an offense that can run and pass, 300 yards a game through the air, 200 on the ground. We haven't seen numbers like that since the 2005 USC offense. It's an offensive line and a defensive line that has been built up and developed, which has been the biggest issue for sure entering this league, and just in general for USC, predating Lincoln Riley is sort of the loss of the power and the size along the line of scrimmage. So there's just some areas where you can see roster depth and talent and continuity that has not existed yet in the Riley era. And so I do believe it has become his best team, even if it doesn't have, a Caleb Williams and a Jordan Addison to put on the poster.
And this team is coming off of a really good win against Iowa at home. What did that Iowa game tell you and the rest of the country about this USC team?
Yeah, I think over the last month, USC has answered that question about have they improved enough along the line of scrimmage to compete with the most powerful teams in the Big Ten. Michigan came into the Coliseum. The Trojans dominated that game on both sides of the football. USC really struggled on the road last year, and this year they went to Nebraska, just an incredible atmosphere, night game in Nebraska, and won a close one there. And then the Iowa game, Oregon and USC playing Iowa in back-to-back weeks, and what the challenge is. Oregon had to overcome, playing in weather and playing on the road against Iowa. USC, of all places, playing at home, had to deal with terrible weather, which you would think would play into Iowa's hands. And then Trojans came out flat and were behind 21-7, and you'd think, oh, that is absolutely playing into Iowa's hands. All they have to do is just pound the football and churn the clock out. They're going to win this game easily, and the Trojans flip the script on them. So, it's just things in a year or two in the Big Ten that USC has been able to accomplish and sort of put behind them that were the reasons that it was disappointing a year ago.
And from what you can tell, how much trust does does Lincoln Riley have in Jaden Mayava? Because it just seems like that's such an important relationship. And some of the teams that Oregon's faced this year, they've had quarterbacks that have been kind of held back by their coach. From what you can tell in terms of Jaden Mayava, like, does he have the full trust from Lincoln Riley?
Absolutely. I mean, there's things that people like to question about Lincoln Riley. He's pretty unimpeachable when it comes to his ability to develop quarterbacks. The guy that has developed, these number one picks and these Heisman Trophy winners, really in not that long of basically a decade of being a head coach in college football. And he's put out so much talent, more than any coach in college, into the NFL. So all these NFL starters came up, and he knows how to do it. And Mayava's kind of been the most interesting one for me because, there were a lot of people doubting him going into the season. He started at the end of last season a few games and was pretty inconsistent. He certainly showed some flashes of talent, but it would come in streaks during the game. And so there were a lot of people thinking like, oh, maybe he's just a bridge guy to the younger player this season, and he won't last. And Lincoln Riley kind of said right from the start, he's miles ahead of everyone else in the quarterback room, and he's our guy, and he has trusted him right from the start of the season. He's a three level thrower is Mayava. You're not looking at a guy that's just like trying to sort of get manufactured stats with a lot of screens and super high completion percentage kind of stuff. Mayava's strength is pushing the ball down the field. So Lincoln Riley trusts trust Jade Mailava, and Jade Mailava trusts Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, those two great receivers, to go make plays for him.
You can follow Jordan Moore on Twitter at Moore Sports. He'll be on the sidelines up close and personal at Autzen Stadium at 12:30 when USC and Oregon kick off in a huge Big Ten matchup with all those playoff implications laying out there. USC, by the way, now leads the Big Ten in passing offense at almost 300 yards a game, and passing yards per completion almost 14, total offense at 488. This really seems like, and I'll just go back to it again, when Lincoln Riley was hired, it was the offense was what was leading the charge, and it kind of sputtered in the last few years. So and you just touched on it, that hookup between Maeva and Mekhi Lemon has been pretty special this year, but not just with Mekhi Lemon, but it seems like Maeva is finding a lot of comfort spreading this ball out.
Yeah, for sure. I mentioned Jacoby Lane, who is an elite receiver. Just can go up and get it, certainly in any jump ball situation. The last couple of weeks, he's been fantastic in terms of getting to the sticks and being a great possession receiver and moving the chains. But, what stood out about this team and this season is how well they've used the tight ends. And, that's something that USC fans have been clamoring for forever is to get the tight end more involved. And it's something that, Lincoln Riley did well at Oklahoma, and now here at USC this season with Lake McCree and Walker Lyons. That's kind of been the third weapon for the Trojans. They don't have a clear number 3 receiver, and they haven't gotten as much pass catching out of their running backs as what we've seen the last couple of years. So that third receiver has really been the tight end, and those guys have been great.
USC has also been very good in the red zone on both sides of the ball. They're number 12 in the country in red zone scoring offense, scoring 94% of the time. Defensively, they only allow scores 70-ish% of the time in the red zone, which is about 7th in the nation. So that's something the Ducks have really, really struggled with. What makes USC so good defensively and offensively in that red zone area?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit, bend but don't break at times defensively, and that's what's worked for this group. And we've seen that at times during the Lincoln Riley era, which is, giving up 3 is not the worst thing when you're playing offense the way that USC plays offense. I think the Trojans want to get to the level where they're really dominating defensively, and they're a top 20 defense in the country. This group's been sort of middle of the pack nationally in a lot of stats, but they've held up. They forced some key turnovers in the red zone, which has been big in some of their wins. And I think the offense in complementary football, the offense is putting pressure on the other team's offense, right? So you end up in situations where these teams are going for it on fourth down or know that they're sort of desperate for touchdowns late in some of these games because, they can't stop the Trojans. So, I think maybe that plays into it a little bit. And, it's sort of become kind of a surprising success for this team. I mean, I looked at those stats recently, too, and I wouldn't tell you that, all season we've been talking about how incredible the red zone defense is. It kind of snuck up on us, but they have made some big plays down there.
Jordan, as we take a deeper look at this defense, first time since 2008, USC has held 4 straight opponents to 150 or fewer passing yards, and you did it against Iowa. Now, albeit Iowa was not, coming into this game like they're going to be throwing for 300 yards a game. Yeah. However, you do lose your 2 starting safeties mid-game. Then Christian Pierce and Kennedy Urlacher step up. They had really nice performances. Urlacher tallies a single-game career high of 5 tackles and get his first pass breakup, and then Pierce and linebacker Desmond Stevens II lead the Trojans with 7 tackles each. So everyone talks about this next man up mentality, but that was a huge lift for the defense.
It was huge because a similar thing happened in the game earlier this season at Illinois, and the defense kind of caved. That was the one sort of regret USC has on its schedule. A game where the offense was pretty dominant, and the defense just could not get a stop to win that game for the Trojans, and they played that one without Kamari Ramsey. They started shuttling some young guys out there, and it just it kind of got ugly. And it looked like that this Iowa game was going the same way with all the first half injuries that the Trojans had. But maybe just later on in the season, these guys are a little bit more developed, a little bit more comfortable in the system, a little bit more comfortable with each other and the communication. and they thrived in that same setting. And ultimately, the game comes down to a pass in the sideline on fourth down where Kenny Urlacher forces the receiver just an inch out of bounds and ultimately makes the play that won the game.
And we kind of started talking about how it's been these West Coast teams kind of proving that they can play some of that big boy football. But just in terms of USC's style of play, I kind of have a feeling just from the outside going into this game that USC wants to make this kind of a shootout. Would you agree with that? And if they were to do that, how would they make that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, that's probably what they want is to dominate both sides of the ball. I think it's unrealistic to think you're going to walk up there and win, 38-10. So I think what's more realistic when you look at USC is that they're going to succeed offensively. And we've just seen it in big games. We've seen it in all games with Lincoln Riley for the most part, that they can be elite offensively against just about anyone. Now, they have had games where the defense saved them this season. The Nebraska game, USC did not play particularly well offensively, and the defense really kind of bailed that group out. But in this one, I don't think they'll have that luxury. I think that Mayav is going to have to outplay Dante Moore, and the Trojans' defense is going to have to be opportunistic. The Oregon offense is so balanced. So can the Trojans' defense be opportunistic, force turnovers to get off the field? Make a play in the backfield, a penalty, something to throw Oregon off schedule because it's pretty talented Oregon offense.
Is there an individual matchup, either Oregon offense against USC defense or vice versa, that you think is going to be one of those keys as well?
Yeah, I think USC's run defense has to hold up because the problem is USC's run defense has not been great for a little while now, and if it doesn't show up against Oregon, the Oregon backs are too explosive. And this is how USC lost to Notre Dame is, the Trojans have had issues at times where they're giving up like 4 or 5 yards on first down and, sort of getting pushed back a little bit. And that's been the issue with the run defense. But when all of a sudden you throw in super talented backs and, Notre Dame maybe has the best back tandem in the country, those 4 or 5 runs all of a sudden became like 40-yard runs. And that's not sustainable. So that's the issue that's faced with Oregon. Some of these guys on the Ducks are just super high yards per carry, explosive runners. So the Trojans are going to have to be tight in their run fits and not allow for explosive runs and force Oregon into the air.
What's amazing to me is that, and I know you know these stats as well because all the prep you've done for the game, this is the first ranked matchup for Oregon and USC when they're both ranked since 2015 with these two programs. Ducks have won the last 3 and 5 of the last 6, but the Trojans hold a 38-23-2 lead in the all-time series. Game day is going to be up here. The atmosphere is going to be incredible. It's going to be like a playoff game.
Yeah, it is. And for USC fans, the game that they're trying to harken back to is 2011. That was the last time USC won in Eugene, and that was a Duck team that was pretty impenetrable at Autzen, had a long home winning streak, and was just a couple wins away from playing in the national championship game, and the Trojans spoiled it by beating them up in Eugene late in November. So that's kind of what USC needs to channel here. But the difference is that 2011 team, which is quite good for USC because of sanctions, they weren't allowed to go to a bowl that year. So that was sort of their big bowl game and proving ground. Whereas this team, if they are able to beat Oregon, just like that 2011 season, they'll come home and play UCLA. But if they win that, it'll be the Trojans onto the playoff this time. So it's all right there in front of USC, and certainly one of the bigger games that the Trojans have had in a while.
All right, Jordan. Well, thanks again for your time. We appreciate you, first-time guest on the program. Have a safe trip up here to Eugene, and enjoy the weather.
Thanks so much.
All right, there he goes. Jordan Moore. You can follow him at Moore Sports, the Chief Creative Officer, but more importantly, the host sideline reporter for USC Trojan football and the play-by-play voice. We'll have him back on during the basketball season here on the Danny and Justin radio program. When we come back, Landon Tengwall gets his nickname. That's the most important thing. We're also going to talk about the football game, the college football playoff. When we come back here on a weekend eve, Danny and Justin, Fox Sports Eugene and Newport. Great insight from Jordan Moore, the sideline reporter and men's basketball voice for USC, but he's more concentrating on football now, although he's doing some basketball as well. It's the crossover between football and basketball, but we are more concerned about football as well. And let's head back over to the Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673. It's a joyous occasion here on the Danny and Justin radio program as we bestow another nickname to our illustrious list as we bring in the great Landon Tengwall, who's becoming a favorite of ours. Landon, are you ready?
Gentlemen, I'm ready. Let's do it. I've been waiting on this one.
Do you have any indication of what it's going to be? Do you have animal,
no,
vegetable,
I don't have a
mineral?
clue. Not even a clue. Maybe my whole life I've been a 6'6", 320-pound offensive lineman. So generally people put big in front of my name, but we've only talked over the airwaves here, so okay. I don't know where we're going.
All right, so here we go. Landon, your nickname forever now on the Danny and Justin radio program and how you will be referred in all social media and on the radio program is Moose.
There we go. That fits. I like it. I'm in.
So now when we bring out, we can go Moose.
Yeah, that's one hell of an intro we got going now.
All right, buddy. All right. So, and thanks for being such a good friend of the program. You've become one of our favorites in a very short period of time because of your knowledge and your sense of humor. So let's dive into this. USC, Oregon, it's unbelievably, I don't know if anybody would have projected this. Maybe somebody would. Both teams 6-1 in the Big Ten. USC number 15 at 8-2. Oregon number 7 at 9-1. And this one, basically, I would say, am I overreaching here, that this is kind of for the inside track to get yourself to the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think it absolutely is. And I think you take great pride if you're Oregon, if you get to just finish off USC season and basically send them packing, and there they go to the Pop-Tart Bowl instead. So I think you get some enjoyment out of that for sure. But I think it's continue to kind of prove yourself. And that was what a lot of this back half of this Oregon schedule was. It's like, we have some different tests. And how opposite of a test can you get going from gritty, run the ball, it's supposed to be good run defense, although, Oregon proved that not to be true in that game, versus now let's go against an air raid, 5 wide, just spread it out, kind of fast style team that you're going against in USC. And so I like Oregon continuing to get these different tests. As much as I think it's kind of funny because they have the label of, they haven't played anybody or they haven't really beaten anybody. And it's like, I think they faced almost next to like Alabama playing, I guess, about, I don't know if that's a sore subject. I hear all the different talks, but next, like some of those SEC teams that have played like 4 or 5 ranked teams, I think Oregon's up there next with like how they've been tested. I completely understand. And I always bring it up because I'm the Penn State guy. I understand writing off the Penn State win a little bit. But, let's not forget what that was. That was going into State College across the country, night game, biggest whiteout of the century. It was everybody was all in, and that was the game for Penn State, and Dan Lanning found a way to get it done. And, obviously you had the tough game against Indiana. But I like these different tests that Oregon keeps getting, and I think this is getting them more ready for the playoffs than a lot of other schedules out there. But like I said, you get no greater joy than taking down your old Pac-12 pal there in USC.
You can follow Landon at Landon Tengwall, so it's Tengwall on Twitter. He also has a great YouTube show, and he also drives around in a car and talks sports as well, which is always awesome. U of O is one of 3 teams with Indiana and Texas Tech in the top 15 for scoring offense, total offense, scoring defense, and total defense. It's the complete package. And the only stub on their toe was against Indiana at home, which the Ducks, I think, have been fighting through that ever since. But after 2 games in blustery conditions, it was Dante Moore sparkling 90% completion percentage, 27 of 30 against Minnesota, breaking the Ducks' single-game record for completions, and a career-high 306 yards and 2 touchdowns. Is Dante Moore got to carry this team, or have the Ducks shown that they can still be balanced with between the run and the pass?
Yeah, no, I think that's the coolest part is that they've shown that they can win in a bunch of different fashions. And you go to, obviously the Minnesota win was happening either way, but you do it in that fashion where Moore's just slinging it around. You have a couple games where you're basically playing in a tornado and it's like, all right, we're going to run the rock and we're going to be physical up front. And even one of those without Sadiq, being a blocker, which I think he is a big piece of the offense that makes it move. Not only in the receiving game, but in the run blocking game. And Jamar Johnson has done a great job stepping up to the plate and taking on even a bigger role at times there. And, you go to Penn State, and, Dante Moore had a great game there. But what I thought I was so impressed by was his ability at times to understand the moment, and he doesn't always have to be Superman. And when it's a lot of these former five-star guys that are just uber talented, that's kind of their downfall. They always try to be Superman. And so I appreciate that Dante Moore knows and understands how to navigate that. I think he's definitely one of the top quarterbacks in all of college football. Obviously had a couple different lapses in the past 3 to 4 weeks and made some throws. He shouldn't have maybe missed a throw or two, but you see the arm talent and the ability and the escapability and all that. And it's hard not to be excited watching the tape of this guy. So, but I think Oregon has proven that they don't have to just rely on, their star quarterback to win football games. And I think that's the most important thing for a playoff team, because someone takes one piece of your game away. All right, let's go to the other one. And you've proven you can do that when you have versatile guys, and hopefully you're continuing to get guys healthy. When you have Decorian Moore and you have Kenyon Sadiq out there and all those guys, it's versatile. It allows you to do a lot. You can go in 5 wide, and you can go 2 tight end sets, but your 2 tight ends are just freakish, just athletic freaks of nature. So there's so much of a matchup nightmare for a lot of these other teams. So I've really enjoyed Oregon finding different ways to win and doing it efficiently at that as well.
And they can certainly rely on their running game. Obviously, you're a former offensive lineman. When you study and watch this Oregon team, what are the things that you see that other people, when they're just watching the game, might not quite see if they don't have the expertise that you do?
Oh, man, the biggest thing, watching, and it's even hard to watch for me on the TV copy, but especially when I really study the tape afterwards and rewatch it, and I'm watching the interior of the offensive line, I think Poncho's playing as good as any other center in America. That's been evident. I think Pregnon also, what a get. He's a true people mover in there. I'm going to be curious to see how this progresses, with Harkey and whatnot. And he's back, and what do you do at right tackle? I thought Wilson, has had some decent games, and I don't know. I'm a fan of Harkey at guard, but you also have to do what is best for this Oregon team in 2025, not what is best for Harkey and his NFL career. And we all know he's probably going to be a guard, but what is best for this team? And so I think that's questions you have to ask. Who do you feel better about when you're going against, Miami or whoever it is, like elite defensive line, when you're like, all right, they got a good defense and then they got Bain. Do I feel better with Harkey? Do I feel better with Wilson? And that's kind of where you have to, find your answer there. But the interior just moving guys, and that's made the run game just be able to hum when you get that type of interior push. And I know we're kind of talking offense, but you can always talk about Amari Washington, and I think he has some of the highest upside of any defensive tackle I've seen in a while. But watching Bear Alexander and studying him, I remember going into the Penn State game, I said something in my pregame show. I'm like, it was after the Northwestern game, and there was a couple games where he kind of looked, I would say, almost uninterested to a degree. And I was like, it was kind of some things that I saw at USC. And with Penn State, it just flipped a switch, and it was like, this dude was playing lights out. I think he had the best game of his career in that one, but it just continued over and over. To not only just have splash plays, but there's a ton of plays where he just has this penetration where he gets in the backfield and disrupts the run, and the run has to bounce outside because he's jacking up the guard on the interior. And like I said, Amari Washington and the whole crew as well. But I've just been so thoroughly impressed with his development as this year has went on, not just at the beginning of the year, but where he has grown from week 3-4 to now where we are towards the end of the season.
How do you think those big guys up front could be game wreckers in this USC game?
Oh, man. You're talking about on the defensive side.
Yeah, on the defensive side, those guys you brought up.
I think with USC, obviously they're going to spread the ball out. Like I said, they're 5 wide. They're quick screens. Their attack vertical, up the seams, up the hashes. That's a lot of their game. They're going to run the ball, but when they run the ball, it is out of a spread offense for the most part. So there's going to be a lot of, we have 5, maybe 6 guys max, probably more 5 in the box. So it's going to have to be a lot of strike and shed by the defensive line, by Mateo, by these guys, and holding their edges. It's going to be a lot of one-on-one battles at the offensive line, but just because everything is so spread out. So this is an offensive line that I'm going to be honest, I'm not uber impressed with. Studied them thoroughly when they played Notre Dame before and after. I felt there was not a lot of power coming out of them. I don't think they're the best pass protectors, and that's also, not only because you have speed and you have great wide receivers for USC there in Lemon and Lane, but it's like you can see their intent to want to get the ball out fairly quickly pretty often because their offensive line just isn't that good. And I think you're facing an Oregon team that can pass rush well, but especially the blitzes that are getting thrown at these offenses, like they're going to want to get the ball out fairly quickly. So if you're able to kind of control that interior and not get pushed a yard or two, off of the line of scrimmage and giving the running back space to make moves, then you're sitting in a lot better world. But I'm definitely curious to see this like sideline to sideline, can they cover the linebackers? And I think we've definitely seen some better play there, as opposed to early in the season. But there is that lateral coverage of this weekend of playing a ton of speed, and the whole idea of their offense is get the ball in space to their playmakers.
The latest member of the pack, we call him Moose here on the Danny and Justin radio program, former Penn State offensive lineman Landon Tengwall joining us. You can follow him with that same name on Twitter. So I guess what I'm hearing, Landon, and help explain this to me, is that I think Oregon's game plan defensively is pretty simple, is to make Jaden Maeva beat them and make them one-dimensional, take the running game out of the picture as quickly as possible, and then focus in. Will USC, though, give up on the run, you think?
No, I mean, look, they got some young talent there for sure. I mean, King Miller's really came on the scene, and I think that's a team that does, as much as they might deceive you with the facts that they're always in, like I said, that spread, 5 wide, whatever it may be, that they still want to be able to run the ball, and that's where they find a lot of explosiveness in their offense, and that allows you. They'll hit you run, and then it's like, boom, slot receiver up the seam, and if they break one tackle, like I said, these guys have a lot of speed. So yeah, I mean, with any time you're playing in the Big Ten, even if it's USC, it doesn't matter. I do feel like taking the run away from this team and forcing Maeva to then start to make kind of dumb decisions. And, I think back to I'm very good friends with Caleb Williams, played him every single year in high school. Yeah. He's got some of that in him where he will make, like, he's got all this talent, and he'll make some ridiculous plays where you just kind of scoff and you're like, no way, dude. But he'll also throw some balls like, you should not have done that, and maybe you just got away with one a little bit there. And I think this Oregon defense has enough athletes to where if he does that a couple times, they can actually end up capitalizing on him trying to be, as I said earlier, what Dante Moore doesn't do is doesn't always try to be Superman. Jordan Maeva is kind of the opposite of, like, he's always trying to be Superman and extend a play and do something special. And I think sometimes I've seen, and there's still plays, like I said, where he completes a ridiculous pass, and I'm like, how did he even do that? But when you're playing against better teams, those ridiculous plays start to become harder to make.
So is it also fair to say that Oregon counters that with their offense, that they are fairly well balanced with Noah Whittington and Jordan Davison beginning that backfield tandem, with Kenyon Sadiq now healthy again? We still don't know the status, and again, we're week by week we're on an Evan Stewart watch to see if he's going to be back. The same thing with DeCorian Moore. So I mean, really, if Oregon gets all their weapons back, that's got to be pretty daunting for the men of Troy to try and figure out what they're going to try and take away.
Yeah, that was always the hardest part when I was studying Oregon, of just how do you attack this team, because the rushing attack has really came on the scene recently. Obviously, when Noah Whittington got back against Iowa, that was a big-time game for him, and I think Davidson's playing as well as, I mean, his cuts, his ability to just it was just nasty. It was filthy. Continue to hold on to the ball through the end zone, and we're all good there for Whittington. And I really like I said, the ability to just kind of do whatever they want. If you want to be in 12 personnel, which is one running back and 2 tight ends, and you have Kenyon Sadiq, and Johnson out there, it's so difficult to match, because if you're a defense, you're saying, all right, we're going to come out with 3 linebackers, and we're going to be playing basically kind of the run for the most part. And it's like, well, not really, though, because they can spread out to the slots. They can run these vertical routes. And if you have an unathletic linebacker, and I've seen that from some of these teams, and it's like, do you want to put an unathletic linebacker on Kenyon Sadiq? And like, I don't, because he'll just take you vertical, or he'll run a wheel route, and he'll run away from your guy. So that's kind of the matchup nightmare with how great blockers they are, but also their vertical threat. And that's what the personnel that Oregon has at their disposal. That's what makes this offense so hard to defend and call against, really.
All right, Moose, couple more questions for you. One being is the matchups that you're looking at. And we asked this question a moment ago, Jordan Moore from USC, is when you're looking at the tape, what is the matchup that either team needs to win, whether it's the tight end against the linebackers or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think always with USC and, trying to be explosive, They want to win with their wide receivers, with Lane and Lemon. Like, those guys are extremely talented. They are highlight machines where you can throw it up. They'll go get the ball for you. So I am looking at Brandon Finney Jr. Can they continue to stack those good days? I think it's been a really, really good year for these Oregon DBs, going out, getting a couple guys, portal, true freshmen, and guys are plugging in, and they're playing really, really well. I've been really impressed from when I saw Oregon in the Big Ten championship was the last time I studied them to this year. I really thought the DB play took a huge step up. So that's what I mean, where there's another test there, because I think you had that against Indiana and really haven't had that since. So here's a little bit of a redemption. And Finney had a fantastic game. He had the pick six, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But Indiana still won that day. Well, all right, here's our opportunity to go back and get that back. Because I felt the same thing about kind of the Indiana up front. It was like when you were playing Iowa, it was like, hey, the last battle up front where it was like, let's see what you got. I thought Indiana won both battles up front on offensive line and defensive line. And then Oregon came in against Iowa, which I thought was the best offensive line pretty much in college football, although I think Oregon would have something to say about that, and a really good front seven, and Oregon absolutely took it to them. So now it's like there's that test back for the DBs now. Can you, as the kids say, get your lick back? And that's what I'm hoping to see against for these DBs for Oregon. So I think that's the biggest thing that USC, they're always going to want to win through the passing game, through the screen game, to their wide receivers, getting guys in space. So perimeter tackling specifically from that DB room. And then for Oregon, I think it's continued to you're talking to an offensive line. You bring a guy in and the nickname's Moose. We're going to talk offensive line play and running game. I think Dante Moore continues to play his ball. As I said earlier, doesn't need to be Superman, especially if you're missing a couple targets. But continue to rise Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, we saw what that looks like when it's at its peak. I'll never forget turning on the Montana State tape. Someone texted me. And it was Aaron Taylor of CBS who runs the Joe Moore Award. And we've talked a lot, and he's very excited about Oregon being in there. And he texted me and he was like, hey, I always talk about extensions of the offensive line and these tight ends. He was like, check out the Oregon tight end. I remember Kenyon Sadiq from the Big Ten championship at the time because he had 2 touchdowns. And as our linebacker was puking, he was catching a wheel route in the end zone for a touchdown and had the hurdle earlier. But I watched his tape, and I'm like, yo, this guy can block. He's hurdling guys in that Montana State game. And ever since then, he has been one of my favorite players in all of college football to watch. So this past Friday night was really cool to see. But I think you continue to build this offense around him, not in just the sense of receiving game, but continue those, if he seems like he's fully healthy, continue those insert blocks and him pulling as that second guy on counter. That's when you're pulling your guard. Sometimes you pull the tackle, but they were pulling the tight end, and Kenyon Sadiq getting around and so athletic and can move and cover up guys in space. So that's feed Whittington, feed Davidson, and let those big boys just continue to move up front. I think Poncho and the gang are blocking as best as anybody else is. And I'll tell you what, those USC defensive tackles, I was watching them get moved off the line of scrimmage against that Iowa offensive line last week. So there are some weaknesses up front for that USC team. I think, look, I said it out there. It'll trigger the USC fans, but I don't know. I think Oregon changed them. But USC wishes they had Bear Alexander right now because those defensive tackles are hurting at the moment.
All right, Moose. Hey, great insight as always. Happy trails. I know you're a busy man. We appreciate all of your contributions to our program. And the thing is, we get great football this weekend. Not in the SEC. Because there's no great matchups in the SEC. They're playing like Samford and Mercer and so I can't remember all the teams, but that's all right. Thanks.
SEC bye week.
Yeah, they're basically an SEC playing bye week. All right, Moose. Thanks for the time, buddy. Take care.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, there he goes, the great Landon Tengwall. Great insight, and from a offensive lineman's perspective, man, he can go all over the field. Offense, defense, special teams. He's got the whole package, and now he's got a nickname. All right. Danny and Justin come back. We'll give our Big Ten power rankings. We'll unveil those next. We'll squeeze a little women's basketball in there as well. And when we return on the Danny and Justin radio program, Fox Sports Eugene and Newport. Big Ten power rankings in a moment. Justin and I give our opinions, which take it for what it's worth. Which is probably reach into your pocket, pull out the change that you have in your pocket, and that's what it's worth. Not if there's any paper money in your pocket. Just a distinction there. By the way, tomorrow on the program, Justin, we have something of value. We have a pair of tickets, really good seats, for USC Oregon. How about that?
Yeah, it's by far the best game of the college football week. So I think that if you're in the general vicinity, you probably want to be there.
Tomorrow, right at the beginning of the program, probably like 6 or 7 minutes after the top of the hour, we're going to give away those tickets. So I'm giving you the tease that tomorrow you want to tune in for the entire program because it's also an opportunity for you to win a 2-night stay with $100 on your player card if you're 21 or older to go against us in big bets. And last week we had another. Now, we had pretty good weeks. You and I had a really good week. I went 4-1.
Did I? I thought I went 3-2.
Well, that's still a good week. That's over 500.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I thought that
Juice went 2-3.
Oh, did he? Okay,
Yeah.
I thought we were tied. I thought we were both 3-2. I thought I was tied for last with 3-2, which isn't bad, but also last.
No, you weren't. You aren't last.
So
no,
I'll take
Coquel's
that.
still last.
Well, if you ain't first, you're last.
You're last. So Coquel and I went 4-1, and Robert, our listener, went 4-1, and we did the prices right. So Coquel picked the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker, by the way, was 57 points. I think it was the BYU game. I think it's BYU TCU. Coquel started with 51 points, and I went after them, and I said 52, so I Bob Barkered him. And Roger came over. I think I said Robert. Roger came over the top of me and said 53.
Yeah, that was
So
a good move.
I got Rogered. So congratulations,
Roger.
Ryan. We already contacted him early in the week, so he knows that he won.
What's your vector, Victor?
What did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar say? You try dragging Lanier and Chandler down
up
the
and down the
floor.
court all day, all game long.
That's fantastic. Okay, so Oregon, Washington State, we talked about it at the top of the hour. Oregon women go to 5-0, and they're coming back home, but then they're back on the road again. It was a nice wire-to-wire win. I'm Justin, I just have to say, and last year's team was an NCAA playoff team, and they ended up, going into the second round as a number 10 seed. This is shaping up to be a team that could get into that second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Right now, I mean, I would just say the way they're playing, the way they're distributing the basketball, the way they feed off of each other, and led by Katie Fiso, I think there's no way they're even near the ceiling right now.
No, I would agree. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that there's a long way to go, but we'll see what happens when they start playing some road games at the very least.
Okay. Big Ten power rankings. By the way, Marcus Mariota has just been announced as the guest picker. You surprised by that?
I'm a little surprised. I think that Justin Herbert and Madison Beer are going to make an appearance. I think that'll happen at some point. They're in town. It's been confirmed they're in town. They were spotted at Trader Joe's.
You heard the spot.
Yeah.
The spot. Everybody's looking in town now for Justin Herbert. All right. So
That's one I go to.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and give my Big Ten power rankings, and you just
Top
give
10?
yours. Top
Yeah,
10.
just
We're just
go.
going to do
Yeah,
top 10.
yeah.
Number 10, Northwestern. Number 9, Iowa. Number 8, Illinois. Number 7, Nebraska. Number 6, Washington. Number 5, Michigan. Put all those in a mix, by the way. I mean, well, maybe 5 through 7 in a mix. And then USC 4, and then Oregon, Indiana, OSU. Okay, ascending to number 1. All right,
Mine's a little bit different.
Okay,
So
go.
I have Minnesota 10, Nebraska 9, 8 Washington, 7 Illinois, 6 Iowa, then number 5 USC, 4 Michigan, 3 Oregon, 2 Indiana, 1 Ohio State. The reason I have Michigan and USC flipped because you had Michigan 5, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they had the head-to-head, basically. And so
Okay,
Michigan beat
that's
USC.
fine. That's
and so
fair.
I'm willing to give them the head-to-head there.
Okay, well, there you go. Those are our Big Ten power rankings.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
I love a dad joke that's always also a good pun.
Yes, those are the best.
Those are the best. What cocktail should you drink with a friend? What cocktail should
I don't
you
know.
drink with a friend? A Bloody Mary.
Okay.
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 Yeah, all right.
A Bloody Mary.
A Bloody Mary. All right, so I'm going to mark that one off. Never say that again in the presence of others. Tomorrow on the program, I think we got Ken Woody coming into the studio for a quick segment at the top. We got tickets to give away for Oregon USC, and then we have big bets. So go to Bigger Bets with a 1 on Twitter. The games are already up there that we're going to be picking tomorrow. So you can go ahead and pick your games before we even get on the show. We'll talk again tomorrow. For Baby J, I'm Danny. Put a smile on your face, someone else's. They deserve it, so do you. God bless. Thanks for listening. Peace.